Hello everyone, and welcome to Risk of Rain 2, where we're hopefully not going to die a horrible death at the hands of space monsters. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the game, I'm going to be trying to not die while going for the long haul on Monsoon with Commando, just because it's fun, silly, and I feel like it. For those who aren't familiar with the game, I'm going to be doing my best to speedrun explaining literally as much as I can before I die to space monsters. Now, being said, Risk of Rain is a roguelike third-person shooter beat-em-up, depending on which character you choose, where the goal of the game is to destroy space monsters, collect items, power up, and then try and escape the planet that you're stuck on. Now, though it is a very simple goal, the game developers, Hoppo Games, they took Hidetaka Miyazaki's direction of difficulty in games and pretty much directly copied it for the higher difficulties. And I apologize if you get motion sickness or have any type of sensitivity to flashing lights or things. This is not a game for you. Hopefully you will find something else entertaining, but especially later on once movement speed upgrades are acquired, well, things get pretty intense. So like if you've played Katana Zero before, we're going like Katana Zero levels of intense effects basically. So these first guys here are and the game, for those who are new, the game mode sacrifices, instead of going to collect chests for items and upgrades, I just have to defeat monsters. And I am, getting obscenely lucky getting as many items as I just did. Normally, I do not get this many items this early on. In a sacrifice run, at least within the first 2 minutes, usually the game makes me work a lot harder for them. Yeah, and basically just the more items you get, the better things go. The Hunter's Harpoon, the green item, increases my movement speed after I defeat an enemy for a very short duration. The Tri-Tip Dagger allows me to bleed enemies for passive damage over time, and the Sticky Bomb is a sticky bomb. And the more items of an individual kind that you pick up, the basically either the greater the effect or the greater the effect chance, or sometimes both. And that is a teddy bear, which is it can prevent damage. It is wonderful, and everyone needs a good stuffy. So the first enemies, as you probably have been seeing, are space lizards, space beetles, and little undead wisps that shoot fireballs from their mouths that are flying around, as well as stone golems. The wisps are very easy to use. If you have a ranged attack, they pretty much go down almost instantly. The lizards do have a little bit more health and chase you around and shoot fire from their mouths. They're mostly just an introduction before their big brothers come and murder you later in the game. And the golems basically are hit hard and move slow. The green guy there is also known as an elite enemy, being an enemy that has an elemental affinity. That elemental affinity was added in the Survivors of the Void upgrade, and that is the healing affinity, which passively heals nearby enemies, or I guess allies for them. It is probably one of the most dangerous ones in a group because it can also heal bosses. I don't know why I'm looking for the Void Shrine, mostly just probably for fun. So the Void Fields are a challenge area where you get a high risk, high reward in terms of getting a bunch of items, but pretty much on Monsoon, you're almost guaranteed to die, especially depending on what other conditions you have. To advance from one area to another, you activate the teleport. When the teleporter event starts, you have to stay in the area to basically King of the Hill to capture it and charge the teleporter, and but you also have to defeat the stage boss in order to move on. And my stage boss is a gigantic electric space jellyfish that wants to obliterate me with electricity. However, this fire lizard is very dangerous, so I am completely ignoring the giant jellyfish in lieu of a tiny lizard, which is kind of funny. And coffee is the best item in the game. No, it's probably not. It's solid because it increases your movement speed and fire rate, so it's just makes it harder to get hit, easier to hit, and do damage. So it's solid, and I just really like coffee. So, jokingly, coffee best item in the game. Yeah. So this boss is a little bit of a gimmick when it is at low health, that it does a huge area of effect attack that pretty much after stage 1 on Monsoon will one-shot you. So at 50% health I'm probably going to be dead if I get caught in it, but you can hide behind objects and potentially also run away from it. And when the teleporter gets to 99% charged, the random mobs stop spawning, allowing you to focus down what is already on the stage and focus down the boss, which is actually going to be very useful because I want to focus when he does that, and yeah. Let's run it back, because we're here for a good time, and I guess, and that's also just a funny good example. There was probably better cover, like the tree that I could have hid behind. So, yeah. Sometimes you just die. Why am I playing on Monsoon? And so the difficulty I'm playing on is called Monsoon. Pun intended by the developers, as basically just a very intense rainstorm of enemies. In this mode, players have decreased passive health regeneration, and the enemy difficulty scaling over time is increased. Now, why do I say that this is one of the two difficulties? And that's because the Hoppo Games Twitter account will bully you if you say that you're very good at the game and are only playing it on lower difficulties. They are comedically brutal, and the only difficulty that's harder than Monsoon is called Eclipse, and where it also adds other challenges like fall damage is doubled and lethal, teleporter areas are smaller, player max health is less, etc., etc., etc. Just stacking up terrible things until you die, or win, because there are actually quite a few players that can beat all of the Eclipse difficulties. I am just not one of those players. Or at least I have not put all of the time into being good at this game to do that. Here I just got a gunner drone, basically as a little turret that flies around like a helicopter and shoots stuff for me. Really what I should have tried to have found in the last stage is a healing drone, which is basically a little guy that comes around, flies around and gives me health back. It's very helpful in the cases like in the last stage where you pretty much need to be at full health or to not get one shot by the boss. There is a void shrine, but we're just not going to worry about it for now. We are just going to passively ignore it and hope for the best that we don't immediately die to the first teleporter boss again. Because even though it would be hilarious, I would like to continue to show off more of the game than the starting areas. Oh, and that is a frost variant. The frost variants do more damage, slow you down when on hit, and generally have more health and passive damage reduction than standard enemies, and also they're just generally really tanky. So like the fire enemy that you had seen before, the frost variant is a little bit, has stronger defenses. Now, the other, well, I guess it's not necessarily fully unique, but in Risk of Rain 2, any enemy can be an elite type with pretty much any, of any variety. So, even bosses later on can have, elite unit types. Here I traded in attack speed so enemies drop health on defeat. Ooh, the key's nice because I trade the key for an item of higher value on the following stage. So it gives you something a little bit more to do than just passively run around and kind of wait for some items when you're playing on sacrifice rather than in the stage. I don't know, we have passive healing. It's probably a good time to, well, not passive healing, but we got healing on enemy defeat, so seems like a great time to find a fire lizard, I guess. Oh, and the guillotine item I have allows me to defeat elite enemies when their health reaches below a certain threshold, and that threshold, I guess the threshold of defeat increases over with each guillotine I have. Oh man, these guys are everywhere, but that's really kind of the point, that enemies will just swarm you. Oh, and each character has 4 unique abilities. They have their primary attack, secondary attack, movement utility attack, and then, well, effectively an ultimate. My ultimate is throwing grenades, which is surprisingly useful. I love the grenades just because they bounce off of surfaces, damage over time. Well, not damage over time, but just large damage over an area. It's nice to have them. And getting rid of the big beetle queen is nice, because that means it will stop spawning more enemies that are probably going to try and murder me, because the beetle guards are not to be sneezed at. So I'm just going to hit the teleporter and run to the next stage before I die. Thank you, game, for not immediately killing me. Alright, so now we are on stage 2. We'll come back to that shrine later. It allows you to go to a bonus stage if you give it a ton of money. Yeah, but right now I'm going to be looking for a tiny rusty box. Oh hey, I hate the watch. You deal bonus damage, but if your health goes below 20%, you lose the item. So it kind of, it's good, but it also sucks. But yeah, so pretty much after every stage, there's a difficulty spike. You go to a new area, new enemy types are added. The crowbar, which I have now a couple of now, is you deal extra damage to enemies that have full health. So if you can more easily burst them, but since I have just like these all repeating pistols, it's not always the flashiest or best for commando, but it is in fact still an item, because more damage is always good. And the energy drink increased movement speed. Well, sorry, I guess increased movement speed while sprinting. These idols just add passive health regen in the area. Because I don't have to worry about purchasing items from chests, I just threw this down because not dying is good. Let's see if we can go find a little iron box. Oh, and the long haul is to make it to wave 20. Each stage basically increases, well, when I say is like the wave, so completing the long haul is going through and completing stage 20. Ooh, this is useful. So the regenerating scrap comes back every single stage, and what it does is it basically allows me to make a green item from a copy machine for free. So it's pretty fantastic. I should not hit that just yet. The health potions are similar to the watch, except instead of they heal you if your health gets below the 20% threshold. Oh, hi, ice friend. Well, you're not actually a friend, but I thought I would say hello. If I'm lucky, there's going to be the little box will be visible, but there's also going to be a healing thing around the teleporter area, but it does not look like I'm not lucky. These are blind pests. They just do a lot of damage. Elite blind pests are just, they're major pains to deal with. Incinerator drones, they're drones with little flamethrowers on them. Oh, is this my box? It is my box. That's wonderful. You know what? I don't like all of the pest type enemies. I just want to get out of here. I didn't necessarily get a ton of items this stage, but I did get an amount. Yeah, sometimes just based off of enemy composition, you just want to run away. And there is nothing wrong with that. Like right now, because there are little fiery fire lizards after me. Fire does passive damage over time, so taking out the fire lizards is good because that way they don't hit me and they do extra passive damage on top of that. The equipment that I have that's in my Q slot is a Molotov cocktail that makes more Molotov cocktails. And whenever you defeat the boss, you get a green item, which are, I guess, like uncommon items, so they're more powerful than the white items that you have. And red items are the most powerful. Well, they're the most powerful class of the normal item. There are blue items called lunar items that are effectively they're double-edged swords. They have some powerful effects, but they also generally have a negative effect that goes along with it. I do not like the blind pest. Oh, and the harvester scythe and the scythes that I have are, if you get a critical hit, you gain some health off of it, and they give you a slightly increased critical chance. There are just a lot of enemies here. Hopefully, there we go. That's good. I was able to at least sneak through. The electric. So the electric blind pest has a shield which regenerates after you after not taking damage for a little while. So it makes it a little bit more annoying to have to deal with, because you do have to continuously shoot it. And I got another teddy bear. Awesome. Okay, so I did get a couple items. During the teleporter event, which is very helpful, and having an equipment is nice because you don't always have guaranteed equipment attacks in the sacrifice mode as well. Okay, this is nice. There's at least one of those things. We're just gonna scrap the watch, that way we don't lose. That way we don't just lose an item to me taking a ton of damage. Ooh, Topaz Brooch. This gives me a shield after enemies are defeated. Yeah, just it's not a big shield, and it wears off pretty quickly over time. But it's better than nothing. This crystal is just 20% extra damage if enemies are very close to you. Usually, a lot of enemies like to run up and fight, so even though it's not necessarily the best for this particular class to use, since Commando is more like a mid-range combat character, it's still just useful to have because, well, it's better than an item sitting there doing nothing, and 20% extra damage is 20% extra damage. Alright, so here, I think probably a reliable plan is to just get, well, I guess get a free item. I guess really what it is going to be get these two Shrines of the Woods passive healing online, and that way in case the boss and other enemies decide to really throw me for a loop. Oh, this is second jump, that I can escape to an area with some healing, and that way I don't, well, pretty much the goal is not die. It is conceptually straightforward, but practically quite difficult. That was probably not a great time to use the Molotov, but Beetle Guards are just very, depending on what attacks hit you, they can basically knock you around, and I don't like things that obstruct my movement, so we're just going to clean them up and take care of them. That's a Greater Wisp. It's the Wisp's big brother. He moves slow, attacks slow, but deals a ton of damage. There are some enemies that are big, move fast, and attack fast. They're generally not very fun to fight. And that is the tiny space lizard's big brother, the Elder Lemurian. Hopefully, I just don't see them at all. I will see them later if I don't die, but the running joke is it's a good day when there are no Elder Lemurians. Oh yeah, and the imps are small, fast melee enemies that do bleed damage if they hit. They have a chance to cause bleed damage if they hit you. Basically, they teleport around and just get close and try and beat you up. Oh. Well, we have items. I'm not happy to use the Beetle Guard there. Oh yeah, I probably should at least do a cursory look to see if there are any other green printers. But it does not look like that there are any around. Because the regenerating scrap regenerates every single level. Grove Tender, big, lumbering, slow guy that also shoots lots of tiny fast projectiles. Well, I don't think I actually talked about any of my abilities other than the repeating pistols and the grenades. So my movement is a action slide dash where I can then shoot and do things out of it, and it can also be used as a jump. And I forgot that I have my second jump, which is probably really useful against all of these melee enemies. Yeah, and then my secondary fire is a piercing round, so it goes through walls and enemies and does increased damage to enemies that are hit after it goes through an enemy. So shooting into a crowd is actually just really, really good. And the repulsion plate armor, which is the little leg plate armor thing up in my inventory, is a very strong item to have because it reduces all damage you receive by 5. Which means that if there's a source that deals a lot of damage, but in small increments over time, there are some enemies that have Gatling guns. Those are incredibly. You basically need repulsion plate armor, or you're just straight dead when you're fighting those enemies. Yeah, they will. Those types of enemies absolutely shred you if you don't have anything to resist the attacks. Oh darn, I missed an item. Oh well. Ooh, a void seed. Well, I will just say the one nice thing about sacrifice before I talk about the void seed is that there is no limit to the amount of items that you get per stage. So just the more enemies you defeat, the more items you get. The vultures are just rough. There's a lot of vultures. Oof. I guess we're just gonna go up. The void seed is so the void is an area that where you just like take passive suffocation damage that can't be reduced or blocked. But if you clear the void seed, you can get powerful items known as void items that corrupt any similar like normal items from the stack. But they're usually, I would say, the void items are strict improvements on the well, at least I got rid of the what's it? Oh gosh, okay, that guy's gonna be alright, so the big bell things are known as brass contraptions. They just do a lot of damage. They just do a lot of burst damage. Right now there's just a lot of things that are trying to murder me. Yeah, the vultures mainly. And this stage sometimes has the healing shrines, but it's not a guarantee. That guy, when he dies, he leaves a zone of insta-death. But it hits enemies as well. So he might be my saving grace to getting out of this. This is a stage where you can fight an optional, very difficult boss in order to get a red item. But we might just completely ignore that in order to, well, let's just say, in order to just to not die and keep going. Yeah, as you see, he just obliterated a lot of dudes. I forget that I keep having a second jump. Here's another potion. Alright, that's nice. Yeah, we'll look at this guy. Ooh, there's only one void monster left. Cool. we go. So the seat is cleared. Is there even anything? Well, the repulsion plate armor is nice to have, but was there even anything in there? Doesn't look like it. Dang. Well, that's unfortunate. Usually you can get some really powerful stuff, but maybe I also just didn't look super hard. Because I was being tailed by a ton of vultures. The jellyfish just kind of self-destruct on you, but they do a ton of damage if they hit, so they're not, you don't mess around with jellyfish. Really, you don't mess around with like any enemies in this game, but there are some that you mess with less than others. Oh yeah, there's Elder Lemurians. Speaking of which, Elder Lemurians are very lethal. They have fire breath that deals a lot of damage over a very short amount of time. Alright, I think there is a drone over here that I want. Yep. Did I even get that many items this stage? I don't think so. I might be full. I think I need to defeat these Elder Lemurians before I try any bosses, though, because they're going to wreck my day if there is anything else that I need to fight. And there's a healing guy. Oh, that's the worst. Elder Lemurians are awful. Something that heals Elder Lemurians is just plain mean. Those guys are the worst because they just do like self-damaging, like giant splash attacks. But generally they just do so much damage to you that it doesn't matter that they damage themselves that much anyway. Okay, at least if I can take one of these guys out. There we go. Oh, that was just the health. You can see why this game is a little bit crazy, so if you don't have motion sickness, you can see why that. As you go on in difficulty, things just get crazy and they don't get any less crazy. That's... just a bunch of these healing guys that spawned. Jeez. Okay. Hopefully the Elder Lemurian is dead, maybe, or did he die? I'm just gonna have to hit the teleporter and hope at this point. Jeez. Wandering Vagrants. Okay. Secondary mag, not bad. Really get against the jellyfish. Hopefully I can just get these guys cleared out. Yeah, at this point I'm just going to try and clear out all of the other enemies that are not the bosses, and then take care of them. And just take care of the bosses last. crowbars are not very helpful against all of these bosses, but I'll still just take items that I can get that are items. Well, as much as I want to go back for that, I do know at least a little bit better that I should not double back into that mess. All I need to do is just keep taking enemies out, because the less enemies there are, the better it is. Missiles. This is actually pretty good, because this triggers off of hits. We're just going to keep going around this way. The missiles are an item that can really potentially carry the commando character, because when you just hit things, you just shoot missiles that then auto-track and do increased damage to things. There's only a 10% chance to fire them, but when you fire a lot of bullets, the more bullets you fire, the more chance there are the bigger the chance there is for missiles. So it's just a win-win-win-win. This stinks, so I'm gonna have to take another loop, and then I can start. Ooh, items. Ooh, shuriken are also really good. Basically, when you use your primary, you throw shuriken to deal extra, that do a lot of damage. Soda. Alright. Soda is good, because soda is, lets me run away from all these guys faster. Fabled 99, which means all I need to do is just start defeating enemies, and this is going to get a whole lot clearer and easier as a result, because the Wandering Vagrants, because they're one big enemy, I can generally just be careful and be okay. When there's 8 guys all trying to come in at the same time, it becomes a lot harder to try and manage that. Fuel cells are nice because you get extra equipment charges, and it causes the recharge on your equipment to be faster. So just all generally good things. Alright, that time I successfully hid, and now I just need to defeat him before he tries to do that again. Probably, even if I had full health, would still die if I was on this stage. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. So yellow items are just really powerful. This one allows me to get fireballs on hit for a 10% chance, so it just does a ton of area of effect, which is amazing. So even though we didn't get the red item that is available on this stage, we're grooving. Alright, now stage 5 is the decision stage where you can choose to go fight the final boss or loop back to stage area 1 and restart with higher difficulty. Because we're just going for it, oh my goodness. Oh, there's just some very difficult enemy types. We are I'm just gonna throw a lunar coin in this. We'll figure it out later. I just saw some very difficult enemy types and was and some boss enemies, so I'm just like wanting to get out of here. I should probably defeat that guy though, because I think he's probably going to kill me mid-boss fight if I don't defeat him. That is a G construct. That thing is awful and I hate it. It flies around, has a jump. Yeah. Alright, let's see. Well, we've been recording for a little bit, and as you can see, we did not get anywhere close to the long haul, and because every attempt because as you said, we were like 30 minutes into that run and then just got completely one-shot and obliterated. So I think this is probably a spot to call it for next time, and hopefully you enjoyed the intense gameplay of Risk of Rain 2, and let me know if you want to see me die some more in games like this. Hope you're all having a great time, and I will catch you all in the next video. Thanks for joining.